Fear and uncertainty spread through the stock market as the crisis builds in Syria. In our cover story, the ripple effect from transportation stocks to filling your gas tank. Plus, the government cure for America's drug problem. And the heat is on how the late summer burst of sun is affecting U.S. crops. First Business starts now.
You're watching First Business. Financial news, analysis, and today's investment ideas.
Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, August 28th. I'm Angela Miles. In today's First Look, the market in crisis mode over Syria. The volatility index raced up 12% as fear and anxiety strike stocks. The Dow plunged in a triple-digit fall. The Nasdaq had its worst point drop of the year, and the S&P broke through technical support during the session. Gold futures pushed up $23 and oil spiked close to $109 per barrel. JCP posted a record trading day with nearly 100 million shares changing hands. It follows a report activist investor Bill Ackman sold his entire stake in the retailer. The stock closed down 18 cents, around $13. And Walgreens is accused of overcharging customers and using false advertising. The lawsuit was filed yesterday by the Attorney General of Missouri. Walgreens will fight the charges. For more on the market reaction to Syria, Larry Schober of SFG Alternatives joins us. Good morning, Larry. And what is the market telling us about the situation?
Well, the market's saying that they don't know what's going to happen. I mean, yesterday, the news reports really didn't change that much. I mean, 24 hours of recycled news, and the markets just didn't like it. Again, markets just do not like uncertainty, and that's what we have right now. And
it looked like money was going into gold, gold holding that $1,400 an ounce line.
Yeah, absolutely. A big spike in gold yesterday. Some of it, most of it, Syria. The other part of it is the fact that people are starting to realize that, hey, maybe there won't be as much tapering as we first thought, and the foot will be on the pedal a little bit harder than they thought, keeping gold prices nice and high.
Clearly, it was a bad day yesterday for the U.S. stock market, but emerging markets were falling as well. Are there any buy signals, or will that selling persist? Is there pressure there, Larry?
Well, I think right now we need to see stability in the United States. We need to see stability with the Middle East. That said, last week we started to see some stability in the emerging markets, et cetera, and they're just following us right now just because of all the problems in what's going on in the Middle East. So as soon as we see that is as soon as we'll see stability elsewhere.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
With warships moved into position off Syria, it did not take long for sectors in the market to get nervous. Our cover story looks at the serious spike affecting oil and transportation in a big way. 4 U.S. destroyers have moved into position off Syria. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel telling reporters, "We have moved assets in place to be able to fulfill whatever option the president wishes to take." All the warships off the Syrian coast are based out of Norfolk, Virginia, each with ballistic missile capability. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney says there must be a response. But reportedly, the White House is not mulling regime change in Syria or putting boots on the ground.
Chemical weapons were used in Syria.
The situation has led oil prices to spike.
It's because all of the biggest oil consumers and producers have a stake in what happens in Syria.
AAA says the rally in the futures market may be a threat to prices at the pump over the Labor Day holiday. It's also renewed the call for alternative energy sources.
Anytime there's any kind of hiccup in the Middle East or major event, we see oil prices go up because of the uncertainty.
And as oil topped $109 a barrel, its highest point in 18 months, transportation stocks such as FedEx, UPS, and a dozen other air freight companies closed down.
When jet fuel spikes like this, rehedges and rolls cost these airlines a lot of money and cause them to have a lot more trouble predicting what their overall fuel cost is going to be. And that's why you're seeing some weakness in those stocks.
Unrest in the region is having repercussions elsewhere. Scandinavian tour operators say they've canceled 60,000 trips to Egypt through next spring due to unrest. It's a $10 billion industry that employs 1 out of 8 Egyptians.
President Obama is making it clear he will not negotiate on the debt limit. That includes any conditions Congress attaches to the vote. In remarks this week, Treasury Secretary Jack Lew told reporters Congress appropriated the money, and therefore it's a congressional responsibility to now pay its bills. The U.S. is expected to hit the debt limit in mid-October. The GOP has talked up demanding spending reforms or cutting funding to Obamacare in return for raising the country's borrowing limit.
The SEC wants answers, and soon, on recent technical trading troubles. Officials at the NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange have been asked to provide a timeline of last Thursday's 3-hour trading halt on NASDAQ stocks. Reuters reports that the rival exchanges have been unable to agree on that timeline and are apparently blaming each other for the glitch. SEC Chair Mary Jo White has called a meeting for September 12th with the heads of both exchanges.
In Spain, police have arrested a former J.P. Morgan trader in connection with the London whale trade. Reports say Javier Martin Artajo supervised Bruno Ixel, the trader known as the London whale. Ixel put on large trading bets that cost J.P. Morgan more than $6 billion. Spanish police say Martin Artajo turned himself in. He's now charged with hiding the bank's losses and remains free in Spain while the U.S. requests his extradition, which could take months.
Activist investor Daniel Loeb has a collector's eye for stocks. Loeb's Third Point hedge fund revealed this week that it has a 5.7% stake in the auction house Sotheby's. The stock rose 3% on the news. Loeb, who's ranked among the top 200 art collectors in the world by Art News magazine, says he plans to engage in a dialogue with Sotheby's board. Rival auctioneer Christie's is revamping itself to conduct business in the digital age.
The summer heat is helping some crops around the nation while causing others to wither away. Jack Scoville of Price Futures Group joins us this morning. Good morning, and what's the latest on crops?
Well, the crops are suffering right now from all the hot weather that we've seen here in the Midwest this month, and the dry weather as well. This month of August has been very, very dry after a very, very wet spring, and that's taken its toll on the crops right now. Corn crop condition ratings dropping, as are yield estimates. And really where you're seeing the effect is over in the soybeans right now, which is mostly an August plant, and the crop ratings and the yield estimates have been dropping over there at a relatively faster pace than they have for corn.
What's likely to happen for prices on food at the grocery store?
It looks like food prices probably won't have much of an effect for right now. Either way, we're still going to have more corn and more soybeans than we had last year, and the rally that we've seen in the futures market here over the last week or two has really pushed our prices here above that of our export competition. So we're going to lose export business if prices stay up at these levels, which will mean more at home, and I think that that'll mean lower prices as we head down the road. So just a temporary rally at this point in time probably doesn't mean all that much at the grocery store at the end of the day.
Thank you for that update, Jack.
Thank you.
Tiffany and Company is able to shrug off tepid U.S. sales thanks to robust buying in China. Reuters says thanks to luxury jewelers in China reporting a 13% sales increase, Tiffany's has now raised its profit forecast for the year. This despite no uptick in Tiffany's same-store sales in the Americas. There had been concern that given the weakening in China's economy, luxury spending there might tighten.
New numbers are out revealing more about the state of the housing recovery. The Case-Shiller Index shows home prices increased in all major metropolitan areas, along with surges in Las Vegas and San Francisco. Home prices rose 0.9% nationwide in June. Year over year, prices are up 12.1%. Overall, prices are rising, but at a slower pace.
The price increase in June of 0.9% month over month is still a big increase by historical standards. Normally, prices increase by only a third that much. But it's a slower increase than what we've seen earlier this year, which means that the big price increases that we've seen earlier this year are finally starting to slow down a bit.
That was Jed Kolko of real estate site Trulia. The Case-Shiller report out this month also notes there's a risk of the momentum weakening in the housing recovery due to speculators in the market.
More legal trouble for O.J. Simpson. The judge has given J.P. Morgan Chase the green light to foreclose on the former football star's Florida home. Reports say the mansion has been in foreclosure for years and that Simpson owes nearly $800,000 on the property. Simpson was convicted of armed robbery back in 2008. The house will be auctioned off online October 29th.
Attorneys for George Zimmerman are asking the state of Florida to cover his legal fees. Zimmerman was handed a not guilty jury ruling in the shooting death of Trayvon Martin, an African-American teen who was walking through Zimmerman's neighborhood. USA Today reports Zimmerman's lawyers will file a motion to recoup up to $300,000 in legal expenses to be paid by the state. Florida laws allow defendants who win cases to file motions for money.
When it comes to prison time, Rajaratnam is far from roughing it. The former trader is currently serving 11 years in a Massachusetts prison for an insider trading conviction. Reports in the New York Post say Rajaratnam's white-collar prison cell includes a servant who also cooks for him, along with a shared balcony, private toilets, and televisions. To say the least, that's described as special treatment.
A federal judge is speeding up Detroit's bankruptcy hearing process. The judge is determining whether the Motor City is eligible for protection from creditors. Arguments in the case will begin September 18th, which is much earlier than the October 23rd date the judge originally scheduled. Detroit's emergency manager Kevin Orr will have to prove the city is insolvent. City employees and retired workers will argue to protect their pensions under Michigan's Constitution.
Starbucks is set to start selling its Evolution Fresh juices in Whole Foods stores. The coffee giant acquired the cold-pressed juice maker in 2011. A big part of its plan for the company was to start selling juice in retail outlets with an eye toward gaining a bigger foothold in the $1.6 billion premium juice market. Evolution Fresh snacks will also debut in Whole Foods stores and come to Starbucks locations this fall.
As early as September, you may be able to trade in your old iPhone to get an upgrade. Apple is reportedly planning to unveil that plan next month. Sources told All Things D the company is expected to make an official statement at its September 10th event. That's when it's anticipated Apple will showcase the next generation of iPhone.
Perhaps taking a cue from all the negative feedback on its own Facebook page, CVS says it will now shorten its store receipts. The drugstore chain says it will stop attaching coupons to the end of receipts and will instead send savings directly to customers' membership cards. The result will be a considerably shorter proof of purchase. CVS shoppers should see relief within a few weeks.
On to the economic calendar for today. It's the MBA Mortgage Index, pending home sales, and crude inventories. On the earnings calendar, Unilife, Express, Guess, and Williams and Sonoma. Still to come, ways traders prepare for rising tensions in the Middle East. Plus, could hiring just one employee do wonders for the unemployment picture in America? And overdose, a look at the hold the prescription drug market has on children and adults. That's next. Prescription drug abuse is said to be the leading drug problem in America. The state of New York is out with one possible cure. Every time a doctor issues a prescription for a narcotic and it's filled by a pharmacist, it will be tracked by a new internet database. Joining us now is Dr. Dominic Gaziano, who's on set with us this morning. Good morning. Does this go too far? What is your reaction?
No, I don't think it goes too far. I mean, if you're prescribing properly, you shouldn't have to worry, number one. I mean, I'm already used to this, and other doctors are. Reps come to the office. I was initially surprised that they would know my prescribing habits as they would start talking to me.
Do you think drug companies are pushing some of these drugs?
Yes. I think, well, they want to show the doctor the efficacy or the effectiveness of a medication. They'll try to push the drugs and maybe blur the lines when they are needed.
Now, recently, Dr. Phil has been talking about how a lot of children are diagnosed with ADD, and it's overly diagnosed. What do you think? What's been your experience?
Well, I think it stemmed from parents wanting the kids to perform and get better test scores, and you have a squirmy kid in class, and you want to control that. Teachers, want to control it as well, and there's been a heightened awareness by the therapist in the schools and et cetera. But it goes on into adulthood. There's criteria for adult ADD that adults want to perform at their job. So they may take a medicine. The risk of it can raise the blood pressure and the pulse enough that a higher number of people getting on, there's more likely that someone's going to get into a blood pressure problem, and it's one of the side effects, and there's several other side effects.
Now, there's no doubt that some people who take these drugs absolutely need them. There's no doubt about that. But what do you see as far as maybe some alternatives that people could do if they fall into that category?
I think when you look at a problem, you look at all the stresses, with the problem, a psychiatric problem such as ADD, and you look at what modifications we can do, like a diet, more complex carbohydrates, not simple sugars, more exercise, even at children, you get them hooked onto medicine and they don't see the euphoria of exercise. There are other activities maybe someone could think of an entrepreneurial thing for activities after school for this big rising wiggly kid problem. So.
Well, maybe an idea has just been born. Dr. Gaziano, thanks for coming on set with us this morning.
Thank you.
Coming up, why small businesses adding one worker could change the employment landscape. And later on, more on stock market implications to an attack on Syria. Stay with us.
Well, here's a novel idea. If 1 million small businesses in America hired just one additional employee, you know what would happen? The country would be at full employment. Kind of far-fetched sounding, isn't it? Well, the Association for Enterprise Opportunity is trying to make that very thing happen with small businesses. But it's the smallest of the small, those with 5 or fewer workers, micro businesses they're called. Let's talk with Connie Evans. She's the president and CEO of the association. And they are small, but boy, they are powerful.
Bill, they are incredibly powerful. In fact, if 1 in 3 Main Street micro businesses hired just one employee, this country would reach full employment. Just think about it. We're talking about Main Street micro businesses. They literally represent 92% of all businesses in this country. And I bet you pass them every day on side streets, cross streets, main streets of America. They are the backbone of this country, and they will bring us to full employment if we make the right investment in them.
Now, investment is the key word, and you're helping sort of create a seed bed where these businesses have more access to capital.
That's exactly what we're doing. They need fairly priced capital and coaching and products that will help them move forward. We like to talk about it as helping these businesses to thrive, grow, and hire. Every single day in this country, more than 8,000 business owners get turned down for capital by banks.
The one thing about capital, what is it are you doing to encourage banks to be more generous with their lending?
Well, it's not just working with banks. Although banks have a role to play, what we need to understand is that there are nonprofit organizations that provide capital to these small businesses in every state across this country. That's who our members are, nonprofits who have capital and the business services that these companies need.
All right, very briefly, you've been doing this for about 6 months now. Results to point to?
Of course. Not only are we having results now where new businesses are popping up, people are getting the capital they need and they're hiring, but we have a bigger goal that we're on the road to reaching. 500,000 new jobs over the next 3 years to be created by these businesses.
Connie,
we're excited about this.
Well, I'm excited to have talked to you about it, Connie Evans. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Bill. Just ahead, how one trader is playing the spike in oil futures as tensions rise in Syria. Chart Talk is next. Trader Alan Nuckman of Trading Advantage joins us now. His eyes are on the charts of oil and oil stocks. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Angie.
Now, oil futures crossed the 109 line yesterday in trading. What do you anticipate for today?
Well, energy's been strong, so it's got up to the highest level since 2011. Looking at energy in general, looking at XLE, which is the ETF that tracks the energy sector, it's had a sharp move above 80. The 2008 highs were above 90, so we're getting within striking distance, and that was before this additional volatility and this uncertainty. There's always price shock potential in the energy world.
For someone who doesn't want to go out and buy an oil futures contract, what would be a play here that just an average person could do? Doesn't even have to be a trading person.
Well, XLE is the energy ETF. I'm looking at an individual play that I think has good reward to risk at these levels. Schlumberger, which is in the information services side of the oil and gas business, that's trading around 81.75. It's made a nice technical pattern. That's why we're doing chart talk right here. We're seeing a bull flag pattern is trading between 85 and 80 here. A break above 83 could target a technical move up to $92.
Now, when you say 92, how long would you give this to move that high?
Well, I'm an options player, so I want to buy enough time to be right with the options. I'm looking at some February options play. The February 70 call, which is deep in the money, it will act like the stock. The stock had a breakout at 70 back in January. That was also the low back in April and in June. So there's like significant price support at 70. But what I'm looking to do is buy that call for about 13 right now, so the break-even's $1 away. But most importantly here is I'm going to exit the position, whether it's a stock or the option, if this SLB closes below 80 on a weekly basis, because that's the key level of support to lean on, and that's only a couple dollars away.
Got it. So you're getting out if it goes below the 80 mark, but you'd like to stay
on a weekly basis.
On a weekly basis,
yes.
But you would like to see it go above $92 by February.
Exactly.
Thank you, Alan.
All right, thank you.
That's a wrap for today. Coming up tomorrow, The Butler dished out another big win at the box office over the weekend. Find out what's cooking at the box office for this weekend. From all of us at First Business, have a wonderful Wednesday.